Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank all of you for getting through the challenge of last year. As the Speaker mentioned to you all, it was only days after I left this body last spring that we had the Oso tragedy in our district, and Representative Scott and myself and Senator Pearson were faced with something that you can't train for. But as the Speaker mentioned too, it was an opportunity for us in the midst of a terrible tragedy to watch communities come together in a way that until you see it, until you live it, you can't believe it. Yes, it was tragic. There was a tremendous amount of loss of life. That community is going to be healing for years, not days, not weeks, not months, but years. Had it not been for those communities coming together, but also for those of you around the state of Washington coming together and showing your love and respect and concern for those communities, God only knows where we would be. But there was one thing about that tragedy that I bring with me, and I guess it's something that seeing it firsthand is a hope that I have in being here. As the Speaker was talking about some of the issues, you'll notice, especially those of you in the gallery, that some people were clapping, some people were not. I don't know if it's just you, but in my family, while I may agree with my wife all the time, she doesn't always agree with me. You too, right? By the way, young men, that's success to a long marriage. 29 years here. Yeah. My point being, though, is that we're not always going to agree with each other. What I find interesting is in the conversations I've even had one-on-one with the Speaker, we've talked about what our goals are. And it's amazing to me how similar our goals are. The differences tend to be the route by which we take to get there. That's why we're here. That's why we've got 98 members from the state of Washington in this building right now, and 49 members in whatever that body's called over on the other side of the rotunda.
Yeah, I forget.
Yeah, we all forget. But there's 147 people that have gathered down here over the course of the next 105 days, no more, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're here. These 147 people know what the challenges are. We've spent the last several months traveling around our districts, traveling around the state, hearing from our constituents. We know what the challenges are that are before us. The question is going to be this: are we going to remain focused on what we know the problems to be? The Speaker laid out many of the challenges that are going to be before us. My question and my challenge, not only to myself, but my colleagues here and you all, is that are we going to be a body of legislators hired by the citizens of the state of Washington to come down here and focus in on those issues that concern them the most and get the job done in 105 days or less? Correct?
Great.
Countdown starts today. And I believe we can. It's okay to have differences of opinion. The concerns have been laid out, and there's going to be more that we're going to hear about over the course of the next several weeks. But I do believe, because I've served in this body long enough, and I've gotten to know the people that I serve with on both sides of the aisle long enough to know that we all come down here purpose-driven. I don't believe there's a person sitting on this floor today that's here just to keep that seat warm. I believe that every person that's here really wants to see better things happen in Washington State. Again, though, the question is going to be, are we going to be able to get past those differences that we have? And instead come together on those areas where we do agree. I expect every person in this body to draw that line in the sand. Every one of us have those moral and ethical issues and other things that are very important to us. Those lines that we will not cross. But what I've learned in my tenure down here is that those are just but a small percentage of the actual issues we deal with in Olympia. One of the challenges I'm faced with is in my own personal budget. We're going to be faced with an enormous budget challenge. Can you honestly say you love everything about your personal budget? I don't. When I'm sitting down writing those checks for the bills and all that, there's a lot of things about my personal budget that I don't necessarily like. But I have to govern my home. And we've been hired by the citizens of the state of Washington to govern this state, to provide leadership here, to come alongside each other despite our differences, despite our grievances, and get the job done. You have my guarantee, Mr. Speaker, that that's what I'm here for. I am here solutions-oriented to help you, to help this body, to help this building, and all four corners and floors in here, to try and stay focused, to not get sidetracked with maybe some of our personal stuff that is important, and those things may need to be dealt with. But there is a big job at hand, a huge challenge at hand, and the citizens of the state of Washington have created an atmosphere in Olympia that's probably one of the, and I don't know if you've heard about this or know about this, but you know you have 147 legislators down here. 74 are Democrats and 73 are Republicans. I think the voters have told us it's time to be balanced on what we do. It's time to listen to all four corners of the state of Washington. It's time to come together, set our pettiness aside, if that's what we want to call it, or our personal interests aside, or somebody else's personal interests aside, and let's get the job done. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to speak. I thank you for your service to the state of Washington. And I thank you, especially to those of you in the gallery today. Most of the people in the gallery today are family members. And they have sacrificed a tremendous amount for us to be here. And so with that, I look forward to counting down 105 days. Let's get the job done. Let's stay focused. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you.